The rain wouldn't stop that evening. It drummed against the window like it was mocking me for believing love could keep us alive. Lena stood in the doorway, her suitcase by her side, her hand trembling over the handle. I said quietly, "You're really leaving?" Her eyes wouldn't meet mine. "Ethan. I can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" My voice cracked. "Loving me?" She shook her head. "Surviving with you." The words hit harder than any slap could. I stepped closer, searching her face for something, anything, that said she didn't mean it. "We've made it through worse. I'll figure it out. I'll get a better job." She cut me off. "It's not just about money." "Then what is it about?" Her silence told me everything. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above the rain. "Marcus can give me stability. A future. You can't." I laughed bitterly. "So this is it? You trade love for a penthouse view? Don't twist it like that." Her tone hardened. "You knew this was coming, Ethan. You just didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see you turning into someone who measures love in banknotes." Tears pooled in her eyes, but she turned away. I tried to hold on. "I really did." "No, you tried until someone richer held out his hand." She winced. "That's not fair. Neither is watching the person I'd die for walk away." For a second, she looked like she might drop the suitcase. But then headlights flashed outside, the car waiting for her, and her spine straightened like she'd just remembered who was waiting. "Marcus is outside?" I asked, even though I already knew. Her silence confirmed it. "Unbelievable," I muttered, pacing the floor. "He couldn't even wait until you ended it properly." "Of course not, why would the great Marcus Hale wait for anyone?" "Don't do this, Ethan." "I'm not doing anything, Lena." "You are. You're walking away from everything we built." "We built nothing but dreams," she said coldly. "And dreams don't pay bills." That line sliced through me like a knife. I wanted to scream, to beg, but something in me broke instead. I just whispered, "Then I hope his world keeps you warm." She hesitated, lips quivering. "Goodbye, Ethan." The door opened. Cold wind and rain rushed in. She didn't look back. The sound of her heels on the wet pavement echoed longer than I thought possible. When the car engine started, my knees gave out. I sat on the floor, staring at the empty space where she'd stood. Everything in the apartment felt smaller, quieter, like it was holding its breath. Minutes passed. Or maybe hours. The rain kept falling, blurring the world outside. I tried to remember her laugh, her touch, her voice when she said she loved me. But all I heard was, "Marcus can give me stability." I whispered into the silence, "What about what I gave you?" No answer came. Just thunder. At some point, the front door opened again. I didn't even look up. "Jesus, Ethan," Noah said, stepping in. "You look like hell." "She's gone." My voice sounded strange to my own ears, flat, distant. He looked around, taking in the half-packed boxes, the photo frames face down on the table. I figured. I stared at my hands. I thought love was enough. I really did. "Love's enough for movies," he said gently. "Not for people like her." I frowned. "Don't talk about her like that." "Why?" "She dumped you for a guy with a bigger paycheck." "What do you want me to call her? Romantic?" "She wasn't always like this." "Neither were you," he shot back. "Before her, you laughed more. You lived more. Now you barely exist." "I loved her, Noah." "I know. But love doesn't mean losing yourself." He crouched beside me, his tone softening. "Listen, man. You can sit here drowning in what-ifs, or you can stand up and breathe again. She's gone. Let her be gone. I looked toward the window, where the car's taillights had vanished. I don't know how. You start by standing, he said, offering his hand. I didn't take it. I couldn't yet. My chest hurt too much. He sighed. All right. I'll stay tonight. You don't have to talk. We sat there in silence. The only sound was the rain and the quiet hum of the city outside. Eventually, I spoke. Do you think she'll ever regret it? Noah leaned back. Maybe. But that's not your story anymore. His words lingered in the air like smoke. When he finally went to sleep on the couch, I stayed by the window. The storm had eased, but my thoughts hadn't. I watched the streetlights blur through the glass and whispered, I won't chase her. Not again. For the first time that night, I felt something other than pain, something quiet, fragile, and new. Resolve. I didn't know how to rebuild my life yet. But I knew one thing for certain, I'd never beg someone to stay again. The city moved like nothing had happened. Cars honked, people laughed, coffee steamed, and I sat at my desk pretending to care. Everyone else had somewhere to be. I just existed. Ethan, Mr. Bennett's voice cut through my fog. That report was due yesterday. I blinked at him. I'll finish it today. You said that 2 days ago. His tone sharpened. You've been off lately. What's going on? Nothing, I muttered, eyes glued to the screen. He stepped closer. Don't lie to me. You used to be one of my sharpest analysts. Now you stare at spreadsheets like they're written in another language. Maybe they are, I said under my breath. What was that? I looked up finally. I said maybe they are. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this anymore. He crossed his arms. That's not the Ethan I hired. You're throwing away your potential. Something inside me snapped. Maybe potential doesn't pay rent. Maybe it doesn't stop people from walking out on you. The words hung heavy in the office. A few co-workers looked over their screens. Mr. Bennett's expression softened a little, but his voice stayed firm. Whatever's going on in your personal life, don't let it destroy your future. I looked away. Too late for that. He sighed. Take the rest of the day off. Come back when you remember why you're here. I wanted to argue, but I didn't have the energy. I grabbed my bag and left without another word. Outside, the world kept spinning. Couples held hands, people sipped coffee, and every smile I saw felt like an insult. My reflection in a cafe window didn't even look like me, just a hollow version wearing the same tired clothes. I walked aimlessly until my phone buzzed. Mom. I almost didn't answer, but guilt won. Hey, I said, voice dull. Ethan, sweetheart, she said softly. You sound tired. Are you eating? I'm fine. You always say that when you're not. I rubbed my forehead. It's just been rough. There was silence on the line, the kind that only mothers could make comforting. Then she said, I know that tone. Something's broken, isn't it? I swallowed. She left. Oh, honey, her sigh cracked something inside me. Do you want me to come over? No. I just need time. Time helps, but only if you let it. Don't drown in what's already gone. I'm trying, I said, even though I wasn't. Her voice softened. Pain is temporary, Ethan. It doesn't define you unless you let it. Yeah, I whispered. I'll try to remember that. Promise me you'll eat something today. I will. After hanging up, I stood by the river for a long time, watching the current pull everything downstream. I envied it, the way it moved on without hesitation. I couldn't even move past a memory. When I got home, the apartment still smelled faintly of her perfume. I sat on the couch, staring at the framed photo of us on the shelf. Her smile looked genuine back then. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I didn't know anymore. My laptop screen lit up with a notification, social media. Against every warning my mind screamed, I clicked it. Lena's new post. Her arm looped around Marcus's, both of them glowing in designer clothes. The caption read, "New beginnings deserve beautiful endings." My stomach twisted. I zoomed in without realizing it, her hair, her necklace, the one I gave her on her birthday. She still wore it. For a moment, I wanted to believe that meant something. Then I noticed Marcus's hand covering it, as if claiming ownership. The comments were full of hearts and envy. Perfect couple. Goals. She upgraded. Upgraded. That word burned. I slammed the laptop shut, my pulse hammering in my ears. I stood up, pacing the room. So that's what I was. A trial run before the real deal. The walls didn't answer. They just stared back, silent witnesses to my breakdown. I opened the laptop again, this time with purpose. I deleted every photo, every message, every memory stored in pixels. My hands shook, but I didn't stop. Each click felt like tearing a page from a book I no longer wanted to read. Delete. 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 When I reached the last picture, the one from our first trip together, I hesitated. We were smiling under cheap fairy lights, holding coffee instead of champagne. I remembered that night, how she said, "I don't need luxury. I just need you." I stared at the screen. "Liar," I whispered. Then I pressed delete. Silence filled the apartment. It was heavy, but cleaner somehow, like the air after a storm. I leaned back, exhaling shakily. My chest still hurt, but beneath it was something new. Not peace, not yet. Maybe defiance. Maybe the first spark of anger that didn't hurt to feel. I whispered to the empty room, "You chose your better life, Lena." The words echoed softly. Then I added, "Now I'll build mine." I didn't know what that meant yet, or how I'd do it. But for the first time in weeks, I wanted to find out. I didn't plan to see him. I just wanted coffee, one normal morning where I didn't feel like the world had forgotten me. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. There he was. Marcus Hale. Sitting in the cafe corner like he owned the air everyone breathed. And beside him, Lena. She laughed at something he said, the same laugh that used to fill my apartment. My fingers tightened around the paper cup until it buckled. Marcus looked up and saw me. His smirk was instant, practiced, cruel. "Well, if it isn't the ex-boyfriend," he said loudly enough for half the cafe to hear. Lena froze, her smile fading. "Marcus, don't." He waved her off. "Relax. We're all adults here." Then, turning to me, "I was wondering when I'd run into you." I forced a thin smile. "Then your wish came true. Congratulations." He leaned back, arms sliding around her chair like she was an accessory. "You look different. Still working the same job. Still being an ass." I shot back before I could stop myself. A few heads turned. His grin widened. "Touchy. I was just making conversation." "No," I said, stepping closer, "you were making a scene." Lena reached out. "Ethan, please. Don't." I looked at her hand, the ring flashing under the light. "You made your choice." Marcus chuckled. "Oh, don't be dramatic. You did her a favor by letting her go." That line hit like a blade. My jaw tightened. "A favor?" He shrugged. "You couldn't give her the life she deserved." "I could. Simple math." I took one step closer. My pulse roared in my ears. "You think money replaces love?" He smirked. "It does when love can't pay the bills." For a moment, everything went red. I wanted to grab him by the collar, wipe that smug look off his face, remind him that hearts aren't currency. My fist actually lifted halfway before I caught my reflection in the glass wall, angry, broken, pathetic. He wasn't worth it. Not him. Not this. I dropped my hand. You can keep your luxury, I said quietly. But one day, you'll learn that respect isn't something you can buy. He laughed. Keep telling yourself that. I turned to leave. Lena called after me, voice cracking, Ethan. I didn't look back. Outside, the cold air hit my face like a slap, clearing the fog of rage but leaving behind something worse, emptiness. By the time I reached home, my hands were shaking. I poured a drink, then another, then stopped counting. The city lights blurred outside my window. Somewhere between guilt and fury, I ended up on the roof, bottle in hand, staring at the skyline. The door creaked open behind me. I knew I'd find you here, Noah said. I sighed. Did you follow me? You think I'd trust you not to do something stupid tonight? He sat beside me, legs dangling over the edge. So. I heard about the cafe. Let me guess. Everyone did. Pretty much. Marcus has a big mouth. Of course he does. I took another swig. Guy lives to gloat. You almost hit him. Almost, I muttered. Didn't, though. That's new. I glanced at him. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're learning when to walk away, he said. You think he won today, but he didn't. You did. I laughed bitterly. Yeah, I feel like a real winner. You didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing you crumble. That's a start. I looked at the bottle in my hand. Feels more like running. Noah shook his head. You're not running, man. You're bleeding out in slow motion. There's a difference. I stared at him, the words sinking in. So what am I supposed to do? Forget her? Pretend she never existed? He leaned back on his elbows. You can't erase her. But you can stop letting her define you. I don't even know who I am without her. Then that's your real problem, he said quietly. You built your world around her. Now it's time to build one around you. I didn't respond right away. The wind carried city sounds, laughter, cars, life, all the things I'd been avoiding. He looked at me. You can waste your life trying to prove her wrong, or you can rebuild it for yourself. Your choice. That sentence hit harder than anything Marcus said. I took a deep breath. For myself, I whispered. What? I'll rebuild it for myself. He smiled faintly. Good. Because proving people wrong doesn't last. But proving yourself right? That sticks. I looked at the bottle, then set it down beside me. You ever think maybe I deserved what happened? No, he said. You just loved the wrong person the right way. That silence after his words was heavier than the night sky. Eventually, I stood up. My balance swayed a bit, but my voice was steady. I'm done drinking to forget. Good. Because I'm tired of dragging your sorry ass off rooftops. I chuckled weakly. Fair. He stood too, clapping a hand on my shoulder. Tomorrow's a new day, man. Don't waste it being yesterday's ghost. I looked out over the city one last time. The skyline glowed, alive and indifferent. Somewhere out there, Lena was probably laughing again, pretending everything was perfect. Let her. I wasn't ready to forgive. But for the first time, I wanted to move, not backward, not toward revenge, but forward. Toward something that was mine. I turned to Noah. Tomorrow, I said. I start again. He smiled. That's all I needed to hear. As we walked back down the stairs, the night air felt different, lighter, almost hopeful. Maybe it wasn't the world that stopped caring. Maybe it was me who finally started. Work used to drain me. Now, it grounds me. I started staying late, diving into projects I'd ignored for months. Every spreadsheet, every client call, I threw myself into it like it was a lifeline. One evening, as the office emptied out, Mr. Bennett appeared beside my desk. "Ethan, you're still here." I nodded without looking up. "Just finishing the quarterly report." He crossed his arms. "You've been, just finishing something every night this week." I glanced up, half smiling. "Trying to make up for lost time." He studied me for a moment, then said, "You're sharper when you stop feeling sorry for yourself." I blinked. "That's one way to encourage someone." He chuckled. "You don't need encouragement. You need purpose. You've got potential, kid, start acting like it." His words hit deeper than I wanted to admit. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I'll mentor you, if you're serious about stepping up." "I am." "Good. Then meet me tomorrow morning. Early. We'll start from the top." When he walked away, I sat there staring at the flickering monitor, realizing this was the first real chance I'd had to rebuild something. The next few weeks blurred into motion. Meetings, deadlines, learning, real learning. I started showing up early, staying late, taking notes like my life depended on it. Maybe it did. One night, while waiting for a system update to finish, I noticed a faint glow from the next cubicle. Ava sat there, hair tied back, headphones in, tapping furiously on her keyboard. "You're still here too?" I asked. She didn't look up. "Deadlines don't care about sleep." I smiled. "Fair point." She finally met my eyes. "You're the guy Mr. Bennett's been pushing lately, right?" "Pushing or saving, depends who you ask." Her lips curved slightly. "He doesn't waste time on people he doesn't believe in." "Guess I got lucky then." "Luck doesn't keep you past midnight," she said, turning back to her screen. That line stuck with me. "You sound like someone who's been here before." "Maybe I have." I hesitated. "You always this intense?" "Only when it matters." There was no pity in her tone, just quiet conviction. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like a broken project someone was trying to fix. Over the next few days, Ava and I kept running into each other, at the coffee machine, during team calls, even when leaving the office. We never talked about personal stuff, but somehow, she always knew when I was overthinking. One evening, as we walked out together, she said, "You've changed." "How so?" "When I first saw you, you looked like someone waiting for permission to live again. Now you just are." I laughed softly. "Didn't realize you were observing me that closely." She shrugged. "I notice people who try." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. A week later, Mr. Bennett called me into his office. "Ethan, the client loved your proposal," he said, tapping the report. "Keep this up, and you'll be leading your own projects soon." "Thank you," I said, genuinely meaning it. He smiled. "Feels good, doesn't it? Earning something again." "It does." When I left his office, Ava was waiting by the elevator. "Promotion talk," she teased. "Not yet. But maybe someday." We rode down in silence until she said quietly, "You know, healing isn't forgetting." I turned to her. "What do you mean?" "It's remembering without pain," she said simply. "You stop bleeding from what happened, but you don't erase it. You learn to carry it differently." I stared at her, something in me shifting. "That's probably the most honest thing I've heard in a long time." "Honesty's cheaper than therapy," she said with a faint smile. I laughed, the sound surprising even me. "You're full of these quotes, huh?" "Only when someone needs to hear them." Her words lingered long after she walked away. That night, lying in bed, I didn't replay old memories or chase ghosts. For the first time in months, my mind was quiet. When I closed my eyes, I thought about the glow of her monitor, the calm in her voice, and Mr. Bennett's blunt belief in me. Maybe healing didn't come as a thunderclap. Maybe it came one quiet night at a time, between unfinished reports and late conversations. And for the first time, sleep came easy. It had been months since that rooftop night with Noah, and my world looked different now. My name was on the glass door of the new client division. Mr. Bennett shook my hand the day he announced my promotion. "You earned this, Ethan," he said, smiling proudly. "Feels unreal," I replied, trying to hide the tremor in my voice. "Unreal is just the first step," he said. "Make it normal." I did. Or at least, I tried to. Every morning I walked into the office feeling like I was finally catching up to the version of myself I'd lost. Ava would tease me sometimes. "Look at you," she said one afternoon, leaning on my desk. "Corporate suit, new haircut, who even are you now?" I smirked. "Someone who knows the difference between surviving and living." "That's poetic." "Don't start," I said, chuckling. "Seriously though," she continued, lowering her tone, "you've changed. It's good to see." Her words should have settled me, but that evening, scrolling through my phone, I saw Lena's face again, her engagement photos everywhere. She looked radiant, like she'd found her version of better. My chest tightened before I could stop it. Ava noticed my silence the next day. "You're quiet," she said as we grabbed coffee. "Just tired," I muttered. "Is it her?" I didn't respond, but my silence was enough. "She doesn't get to live rent-free in your head, Ethan." "I know," I said, forcing a smile. "I'm fine." But I wasn't. That night, I sat in front of my laptop, answering client emails when a notification popped up, an unknown address. Subject line, "Be careful." I frowned, opened it, and read. "You don't know me, but you should. I'm Claire, Marcus's ex-wife. I thought you deserved to know he's not who he seems. Be careful who you trust." For a full minute, I just stared at the screen. My pulse spiked. Marcus's ex-wife. Ava called right then, her name flashing across the screen. "You sound weird," she said when I answered. "What happened?" "I just got an email, from someone named Claire. Marcus's ex-wife." "Wait, what? What does she want?" I read the message aloud. Ava whistled softly. "That's unexpected." "Yeah," I said, still staring at the message. "Why me?" "Maybe she wants to warn you. Or maybe she wants something." I rubbed my temples. "It's been months, Ava. I've moved on. Haven't I?" "You tell me," she said. Her question hung there, heavier than it should have been. The next morning, I couldn't focus. My inbox, my calls, my meetings, all background noise. I kept thinking about Claire's email, about Lena, about the possibility that everything I'd buried was clawing its way back. During lunch, Ava sat beside me in the cafeteria. "You look like a man about to jump off a bridge," she said lightly. "Just distracted." "Ethan," she said, her tone shifting, "don't go looking for ghosts. Some doors need to stay closed." I met her gaze. What if those ghosts never stopped looking for me? She sighed. "Then face them when they knock. Don't go digging for them yourself." That night, I sat alone in my apartment, reading Claire's email again. Her warning replayed in my head, "He's not who he seems." I typed a reply, then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted it again. Finally, I wrote, "Why are you telling me this?" My finger hovered over send, but I didn't click. Instead, I leaned back, staring at the city lights outside. Part of me wanted peace. The other part, the one still bleeding from Lena's goodbye, wanted truth. My phone buzzed. Ava again. "You're not going to reply, are you? She asked without preamble. I don't know. Then let me guess, you're hoping she'll explain everything, and somehow, that'll make the past make sense. I exhaled. Maybe. You already know what Marcus is, Ethan. You saw it the night he smiled at you like he'd won. I did, I whispered. But I want to know why she's warning me now. Because people like him don't just ruin one life, Ava said quietly. They collect them. Her words silenced me. After she hung up, I sat there, the cursor blinking on that unsent email. Claire's message was still open on my screen. The same 6 words stared back at me, be careful who you trust. I closed my laptop and leaned back, closing my eyes. The hum of the city outside faded into the background. Maybe Ava was right. Maybe I shouldn't chase ghosts. But something deep inside me whispered, what if this ghost is chasing you? I didn't have the answer. Only a feeling, that the past wasn't done with me yet. And as the night stretched on, I realized, peace wasn't something you found. It was something you fought for. I didn't expect Claire to look calm. When she walked into the cafe, she carried herself like someone who'd already survived a storm. You came, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. I almost didn't, I replied. People don't usually email strangers with warnings. Her lips curved faintly. Marcus makes exceptions to the usual. I studied her, poised, controlled, but her eyes held exhaustion. You were married to him? For years, she said. For years of pretending not to notice the rot under the shine. I leaned forward. Why me? Because you were his next casualty, she said simply. And because I heard he's using Lena now, for publicity, connections, leverage. Not love. I felt my stomach twist. You're saying he's exploiting her? I'm saying he's using her name and your past together to build sympathy. I've seen his presentations, your story's part of his brand now. My jaw tightened. What kind of brand? She pulled out a small folder from her purse and slid it toward me. One built on manipulation. Sponsorships, fake charities, staged investments. He makes himself look like a savior, but everything's smoke and mirrors. I hesitated before opening it. Inside were photos, documents, screenshots. Marcus with investors, Marcus at events, Marcus with Lena, always the same grin, the same carefully staged charm. Where did you get these? I asked. I used to manage his finances. Until I realized the donations were fake, the contracts fabricated. He replaced me when I started asking questions. I flipped through a page showing a ledger. He's laundering money through her name. Exactly. And she has no idea. She thinks she's in love with a man who sees her as a brand accessory. I exhaled sharply. Why tell me this? You could have gone to the authorities. She looked me dead in the eye. Because no one listens to an ex-wife. But they might listen to you, the heartbroken man she left behind. Her words hit like a slap. You want me to use my pain as a weapon? I want you to expose a monster, she said quietly. You don't have to like me, Ethan. Just don't let him destroy more people. For a long moment, I said nothing. The folder between us felt heavier than it should have. Do you still hate him? I asked. I stopped hating him the day I realized he wasn't worth the emotion, she said. Now I just want truth. Nothing else. I nodded slowly. Truth, I repeated. That's a dangerous word. Her eyes softened. It always is. After she left, I sat there staring at the folder, my reflection faint in the glossy photo of Marcus shaking hands with someone powerful. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away. But another voice, quieter, deeper, whispered, he took everything from you. That night, I told Ava. She listened without interrupting as I laid the evidence on my coffee table. When I finished, she said, you've already decided, haven't you? I shook my head. I'm not sure. Then why are your hands shaking? I glanced down. She was right. My fingers trembled as I touched the edge of the folder. Because this isn't just about him anymore. It's about me. About closure. Ava folded her arms. Closure and revenge look the same from a distance. But one heals you, the other chains you. This isn't revenge, I said quietly. It's justice. Justice for who? Lena? Claire? Or yourself? I hesitated. Maybe all of us. She sighed. Ethan, I've seen what anger does to people. It eats what's left after the pain. This isn't anger, I said again, firmer this time. I'm done being the one who suffers in silence. She met my gaze, unflinching. If you do this, it'll cost you something. Peace doesn't coexist with war. Maybe peace was never mine to begin with, I murmured. Ava stepped closer, her voice softening. Then promise me something, if you go down this road, do it clean. Don't become what you're trying to destroy. I'll try. No, she said sharply. Promise. I promise. She nodded, but the worry in her eyes stayed. When she left, I reopened the folder. The documents blurred for a second before my focus sharpened. Marcus's name appeared again and again, fake invoices, forged contracts, corporate lies dressed as charity. I remembered his smirk at the cafe months ago, the way he said, "You did her a favor by letting her go." That memory flared like gasoline. I picked up my phone, scrolled through contacts, and stopped at a name, an old journalist friend who'd once asked me if I had a story worth telling. Maybe now, I did. I typed, "We need to talk. It's about Marcus Hale." My thumb hovered before pressing send. Ava's words echoed in my mind, "Revenge can cost you peace." Maybe she was right. But some truths had teeth. And once you let them bite, there was no turning back. As the message sent, I leaned back and whispered to the empty room, "This isn't revenge, Marcus. It's reckoning." Ava stared at me across the table, her eyes sharp, like she already knew what I'd done. "You leaked it, didn't you?" she asked quietly. I didn't answer. The news anchor's voice echoed from the TV in the corner. Breaking, Marcus Hale under investigation for financial fraud and corporate manipulation. I turned the volume down, my fingers trembling just slightly. "It's out now," I said. "No going back." Ava leaned back, sighing. "You realize what this means? The man's empire is going to collapse." "Good," I muttered. "He built it on lies." She looked at me for a long moment. "And what about Lena?" Her name still hit me like a bruise. "She chose his world over me. Let her live with it." "You sound cold." "I'm not cold," I said, forcing the words out. "I'm finally awake." Over the next few days, the internet turned into wildfire. Every platform was swarmed with articles, accusations, interviews. Marcus's photos with politicians and investors were plastered everywhere, every handshake now looked poisonous. I watched it all unfold from my apartment. Headlines flashed like justice in motion. Marcus Hale's fortune under scrutiny. Insiders exposed decades of exploitation. Part of me felt vindicated. The other part, the quieter one, felt something darker. Ava called again that evening. They froze his accounts. "The police are involved." "Good. You don't sound happy." "I didn't do it for happiness," I said. "I did it for truth." She hesitated. "Truth and revenge aren't always the same." "I know." I stared at the city lights. "But sometimes they wear the same face." 3 days later, I got the message. "Lena, Ethan, please. I need to talk to you." My chest tightened, but my fingers moved before I could stop them. About what? Everything. I didn't reply. I left the phone on the counter and walked away, but her words followed me all night. The next morning, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Lena stood there, makeup streaked, eyes red, the sparkle gone from her designer facade. She looked smaller than I remembered. Ethan, her voice cracked. I didn't know. Marcus, he lied to me too. I stayed silent. He told me you were bitter, jealous, that you'd ruin him. She swallowed hard. But now you see who he really is? I asked. She nodded, tears clinging to her lashes. Everything's gone. The house, the cars, the invitations. People stopped answering my calls. I don't even know where to go. I almost pitied her. Almost. You left for comfort, I said quietly. You got it. For a while. I made a mistake, Ethan, she whispered. I thought he was safer. I didn't think. No, I cut in. You didn't think. You just chose. She looked down, guilt pulling her shoulders inward. Can't we start over? Her words hit me harder than I expected. I wanted to laugh, not out of cruelty, but disbelief. Start over. I repeated. After everything? I still care about you, she said, reaching out. I stepped back. You care about what's gone. Not me. Tears streamed down her face. I lost myself trying to be what he wanted. I exhaled slowly. Then maybe this is where you find yourself again. Ethan, please. Lena. I met her eyes. You left for a better life. Now live with it. She froze. The silence between us was heavier than anything we'd ever said. When I closed the door, it clicked softly, but the sound echoed inside me like thunder. I leaned against the wall, heart pounding, a strange calm settling in. For years, I'd replayed every memory, every lie, every what if. And now, it was done. The door had finally closed, not on her, but on the version of me that begged to be chosen. My phone buzzed. A message from Ava. You okay? I typed back, better than I've been in years. She replied, you did what you thought was right. Just don't lose yourself in it. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying, I didn't lose myself. I found who I was before they broke me. That night, I walked outside. The city felt different, lighter somehow, even with all its noise and chaos. The wind carried the scent of rain, and for the first time, I didn't feel haunted. Every ghost that had followed me, Lena's laughter, Marcus's smirk, my own bitterness, faded with each step. Ava's words replayed in my mind, revenge can cost you peace. Maybe she was right. But sometimes, peace needs justice before it can breathe. I looked up at the sky, the faint glow of dawn on the horizon. I'm done, I whispered. And for the first time, I actually meant it. Do you ever think about going back? Ava asked, her voice soft over the sound of the waves. I smiled, the ocean breeze brushing against my face. Back where? To who you were before all this. I shook my head. No. That version of me doesn't exist anymore. She leaned closer, tucking her hair behind her ear. You say that like it's a good thing. It is, I said quietly. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm chasing something. I'm just, here. She smiled. That's rare, Ethan. People spend their whole lives trying to get to that point. Yeah, I said, watching the sun sink into the horizon. Guess I took the long way. A few weeks later, Ava and I drove up to visit my mother. The house smelled the same, cinnamon and old books. She opened the door, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. Ethan, she said, wrapping me in a hug. You finally look like yourself again. I laughed. What does that even mean? It means, she said, tapping my chest, you're lighter here. I can see it. Ava smiled at her. He's been smiling more lately. Even laughs sometimes. My mother chuckled. Good. I was starting to think you'd forgotten how. We sat down for tea, and the conversation drifted, small things, gentle laughter, no tension hiding in the corners. It felt new. It felt earned. Your father would have been proud, she said after a while. I looked down at my cup, steam curling upward. You think so? I know so, she said firmly. You went through hell and came out kind. That's strength, Ethan. On the drive back, Ava rested her head on my shoulder. You didn't tell her about Lena, she said softly. She already knows, I said. Mothers always do. You ever think about her? Sometimes, I admitted. But it's different now. There's no anger left. That's growth, Ava said, smiling faintly. You used to talk about revenge like it was oxygen. I chuckled. Yeah. I thought hurting her would heal me. Turns out, letting go did. She squeezed my hand. You finally learned to stop bleeding for people who cut you. I looked at her, my chest tightening, not with pain, but gratitude. You taught me that. She grinned. Maybe. Or maybe you just remembered who you were. Later that night, I stood outside the cabin we'd rented by the coast. The air was cool, quiet except for the sound of distant waves. The stars shimmered, soft and endless. I thought about the years I'd spent breaking myself just to prove something, to Lena, to Marcus, to everyone who doubted me. Every success had felt like a weapon. Every smile, an act of defiance. But now, none of that mattered. Peace didn't come when they fell. It came when I stopped fighting ghosts. Ava stepped out beside me, holding 2 mugs. Couldn't sleep. Just thinking, I said, taking one. About how far I've come. She looked out at the horizon. You're not looking back anymore, are you? No, I said. For once, I don't need to. When dawn broke, I walked down to the shore alone. The sand was cold beneath my feet, the water glimmering gold under the rising sun. I thought about Lena, her laughter, her betrayal, her tears at my door. For the first time, I didn't feel bitterness. Only distance. She left for a better life, I whispered, watching the light stretch across the water. And I finally found mine. Ava called from behind me, you coming? In a minute, I said, smiling. As she walked back toward the cabin, I stayed there, breathing, steady, whole. The past didn't hurt anymore. It simply existed, a chapter I'd read, learned from, and closed. And standing in the quiet glow of morning, I realized, I hadn't just survived what broke me. I'd built a life beyond it. The letter arrived on a quiet Sunday morning. No return address, just my name written in familiar handwriting that I hadn't seen in over a year. For a moment, I just stared at it, my coffee cooling on the table, the world outside perfectly still. My fingers hesitated before I opened it. Ethan, it began. I don't expect you to forgive me. I exhaled slowly and kept reading. She wrote about losing everything, Marcus, the house, the company, the image. I thought love was comfort, she said. But I learned too late that comfort without honesty is emptiness. I could almost hear her voice, trembling between regret and exhaustion. I see you on the news sometimes, she continued. You look happy. Lighter. That's what I wanted once, but I didn't know how to find it. I hurt you because I was scared of being ordinary. I see now that what we had was real. I'm sorry, Ethan. Truly. Her words didn't sting like they once might have. They just landed. Quietly. Ava called from the kitchen, you okay? Yeah, I said, folding the letter carefully. Just something from the past. She leaned on the doorframe. Lena? I nodded. Are you going to write back? I looked at the letter again, at the uneven ink, at the faint watermarks that might have been tears. No, I said softly. Some things are better left unanswered. Ava smiled gently. Closure doesn't always need conversation. Exactly, I said. It's not about punishing her anymore. It's about choosing peace. She walked over, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "You already did." Later that night, I took out an old wooden box from the closet, one labeled past. Inside were photographs, ticket stubs, and fragments of a life that once defined me. I placed Lena's letter on top, closed the lid, and locked it. My hands didn't shake this time. Standing there in the quiet, I realized how much lighter it felt, to let go without anger, to forgive without needing to speak it aloud. Ava walked into the room again, holding 2 mugs of tea. You sure you're okay? I smiled. More than okay. She handed me a mug. You look peaceful. I am, I said. For the first time, I think I really am. Before bed, I stepped out onto the balcony. The city glowed beneath me, alive, imperfect, real. The same city that once felt like a cage now looked like home. I leaned on the railing and whispered into the wind, sometimes losing everything is how you find yourself. The words felt truer than ever. I thought about Lena, not with resentment, but understanding. We were 2 broken people chasing wholeness in the wrong places. She found her truth through loss. I found mine through rebuilding. I didn't need her apology to validate my healing. I didn't live better to make her regret leaving. I lived better to finally see myself clearly, to recognize the man who rose from the ashes without bitterness. I glanced up at the stars, feeling their quiet approval. I didn't seek revenge to hurt her, I murmured. I lived better to heal me. The night air wrapped around me, calm and final. I turned away, closed the balcony door, and left the past, and her letter, behind.